just shoot stuff. Just go and shoot stuff. And think about composition. And, you know, it's about a smooth pan, a smooth tilt, holding a shot. All those disciplines still count.
Hi everyone, my name's Catherine and I work at ScreenSkills. We are very lucky today to be joined by Saul Gittens. Saul, Director of Photography, has worked in the film and television industry for over 35 years and is the in-house DOP and Head of Training and Development at Procam. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome Saul. Saul, why don't you start by giving us a bit of a background on your own career and how you got into TV?
Hello everyone. So probably like many of you, I had quite a meticulous route. I went on set with my father, who was a senior special effects technician, who was actually one of the 5 that won an Oscar for Raiders of the Lost Ark many, many moons ago. And I was lucky to go on sets like Batman. I used to put Helen Slater's harness on her on Supergirl. And I was just amazed. I thought, this is brilliant. This is exactly what I want to do. But I was a young 17 know-it-all, and I had a little bit of a bust-up on set with my father, and I took myself off to university. Well, actually, it was Polytechnic then, and I studied illustration and graphic design. And I came out and I realised that really wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to be back on films, or back in films and TV. So I got a little job working for a local newspaper as a paste-up artist, and it was there that my whole life changed when I did an ad that said, I was actually pasting the ad up, and it said, do you want to work in film and television? It's long hours, low pay, but the sky's the limits. So I turned up to Covent Garden and there was 6 runners positions on offer, and there were about 250 people queuing outside Pineapple Dance Centre. So I filled my application, and to cut a long story short, I walked to the front of the queue because people were writing their whole life history before them. And I went in, handed my piece of paper in, and they looked at it and said, "We haven't written very much about yourself here." And I said, "Well, no, I'd much rather talk to you and tell you about myself," which kind of leads me to point number 1. You're all going to be different. You're all going to go about finding work in a different way. And that leads all the way through your career. So you really need to find out who you are first, and what your strengths are. And I'm not going to give you all those naff play to your strengths things, but you've got to kind of embrace that, and you've got to run with it. And I encourage all the guys and girls here when they're training with me, because it's a very one-on-one thing at Procam, because that's how it is on set. When you get on set, the best thing to do is, I always say, keep your mouth shut and your ears open. Always have a pad with you and a pen. It's really, really important. You know, you're going to make notes. It might be that the first AC goes off ill, and you can step in and you've got your notepad and you're writing down f-stops and focal lengths and stuff like that. And even just doing lighting plans, looking at what the DOP is doing. Always keep your eyes open, okay? And just be aware that the people around you most of them will have done what you've done. They've been either production runners or camera runners. So most of them are going to be sympathetic to what you're doing. There's a fine line between being right there all the time and offering help, and being at the back of the room on your mobile phone. Because if people turn around and see that, there's a saying that we use, and that is that you might not be invited back to the party, okay? So it's about, you will be seen. You know, it's really strange. You see it on set a lot. People, if they've got their head down or they've got their back to you, they're going to be texting or something, and you might miss a really important moment. So it's about showing respect to those people there, especially those people that have been in that job for a long time, and they've climbed up. They've started, I mean, I started as a camera runner, and I had 2 weeks, and I knew from previous experience, especially making mistakes early on, that every time you're on set, you get one chance, okay? You get one chance to be late. And if you are on the camera crew and you're late, it might be that you have all the kit with you in that truck. Now, as my dad always used to say, everybody else can be late. Wardrobe can be late, makeup can be late, even the director can be late because the first AD will jump in. The first AD can be late. I have actually jumped in on a number of shoots. One memorable one was a live shoot with Derren Brown, and the director, who's a really good friend of mine, fell ill, and I basically directed the cameras on a live event in Harrods, and that's happened a number of times. So be prepared to step up at any given time. It might also mean that at that moment you step up and you do a good job, you go back down to your other pay grade, as we say. And that's not a bad thing. Just try and learn everything, especially as a camera assistant. You know, if you're going to be a second AC, it might be that you're going off to do your DIT, and have a process and stick to that process. It's really not great for you if you start doing different things in the middle of a shoot in terms of the way that people work. You know, certainly when I started in 1807 and it was film, I was under some really quite senior people who loved process, and I thought I knew better, and believe me, you might do, but you need to keep that until you're in their position. If you are starting a new shoot, use your savvy and go on Google International Movie Database and have a look at who those people are on set, what they've done. It might not mean anything, it might not come to anything, but it just means you're aware of who is working around you and what they've done as well. And that may pay dividends even in a conversation when you're at lunch. You know, you feel that you can chip in and join a conversation if it's about certain things that person has worked on. I mean, let's face it, we all probably, and if you don't, you're in the wrong career, we all love film and TV. I mean, and they are two separate entities, film and TV. TV tends to be lower budget, not to say that you might not be involved in low budget or medium budget dramas or features, but they are kind of two different entities. And what happens really when you get in on film, if you are going to be trying your best, turning up early, chipping in, doing all those things right, you will get involved in that little family, and that you will start at the bottom, and as everybody else progresses, you go up, usually in that unit. Not always, or in that film is a lot more insular maybe than TV. TV tends to be, you know, you can do anything from a day to a 4 or 5 week shoot. And a lot of those are going to kind of be around the maybe 2-3 week dramas. Lots of stuff has evolved now. I used to do a lot of stuff for children's TV, and a lot of that has shrunk. Where there is an explosion now is the dramas through Netflix, Apple TV, and those platforms. In fact, only 2 weeks ago, I was looking at the VR screens that we use on The Mandalorian, and they're going to start to be more prevalent. You're going to see a lot more of those now, especially with COVID. So things are changing for all of us in the industry. It's going to be harder for you guys now as it is for camera operators, directors, because there's certainly been a shrinking of jobs out there, and hopefully that will explode again when things get back on an even keel.
Can you just quickly give a brief overview of the role of a camera assistant and where they sit in the production and especially the sort of crew side of things?
Don't just look at camera assistant as camera assistant, because there are different tiers. You certainly, as you progress, if you start and you've come from runner and you may have done DIT, and then that camera assistant, the second AC, or the camera assistant, depending on the size of the shoot and the size of the budget, if they go up, they may go, hey, you know, so-and-so was really, really good. I think they did their DIT really, really well. They helped me on set, doing lots of bits and bobs. And then you'll step up, maybe away from DIT and be more hands-on at the camera end. That's not to say that you might never go back down and pitch in on other elements. So really the role of the camera assistant is, I always say, looking after the kit is number one. If the kit isn't working, you're not working. So it's about knowing where everything is. It's about knowing where your batteries are. Certainly that if you're using prime lenses, that your lens case is there, because those lenses are going to be going on and off far more than if you're on zoom lenses. So it's about organisation is the real key thing, and from that stems everything else. So when you turn up on set, you're gonna have a nice set ready bag. If it's a big shoot, you might have 2 bags. You might have 3 if you're outside, because you've got your wet weather gear. And it's about anticipation and thinking ahead and planning. You know, if you're inside in a studio, you know you're going to be in there for 2 weeks, then you're going to have a totally different kit bag from if you're crashing about on location. If you're in Snowdonia, you're going to have things like, you know, ponchos to quickly throw over the camera. You're going to have maybe heated pads that you can use, because you've got to keep your hands warm. You know, you're going to be at the front of the camera. So the great thing about what we do is every day is different. Okay, maybe it's not if you're on a drama and you're in the same sets day in, day out, but it might be that you do a week there, then you're on location. Okay, so you've got to be really ready to respond quickly, and you will find lots of workarounds, which is why I'm saying have a pen and paper with you, because people are going to give you tips. Don't be afraid to offer tea and coffee. Okay, people can say no, but they love the fact that you are there, and do not find it belittling or demeaning, even as a first AC, to go and get tea and coffee. Okay, you know, I walk around Procam with a broom sometimes, because the guys are smashing it out downstairs. We've got loads of jobs down, and because I grew up in that environment where I worked with a grip, who's no longer with us, lovely Stuart Godfrey, he taught me, you know, the camera truck, which was his grip truck, had a darkroom in, and that was my area. So I was expected to keep that meticulously clean, because obviously you're laying brushes on a table, you're loading, you're unloading, you're bagging up, and it's a small room. So you have to be organised. So for me, a good camera assistant is someone that's keen, someone that's organised, someone that's punctual, someone that's polite. And at the end of the day, like it or not, when you're freelance, you only have your last job to go on. If you've been late, surly, you know, you've had a couple of accidents, you're probably going to drop down a few notches. And it is about leaving every day, you know, your kit secure, tidy. You know, you said goodbye to everybody. And if you find that you're finding these points that I'm saying really obvious, sometimes we do miss the obvious. You know, I make it a point of fact every day to thank my team, because we're going to be turning up tomorrow, and I don't want anybody, even if we've had a mistake, I don't want people going home beating themselves up about it. As one of my old gaffers used to say, you know, it's been a good day, nobody's been injured and no one's been hurt. Everybody makes mistakes, which actually leads me to another point. If you do make a mistake, put your hand up right away. It's so important. We were doing a shoot in Santa Monica. It was a big magic show. You probably guess which one it was. And unfortunately, the production runner was given the rushes, and through whatever happened, one of the cards didn't go through DIT.
So that's the sort of backing up of rushes, isn't it?
Yeah, so basically, at the end of the day, although there's bits and bobs shot on film, mainly everything is shot on a card-based system now, whether it's CF cards, SD cards. So that's basically your digital information transfer. So you're going to back your rushes up, you're going to drag and drop. Now, within DIT, there are people that just do what we call drag and drop. So they're the more trainee, less senior people that are just literally going to copy the cards and make sure that they've done a backup as well. And that involves, you might be going through Shot Put Pro, stuff like that. But it's really important that you are checking clips on the cards if you're doing DIT. Then there are more senior DIT people who may be putting a grade on as you go. That happens a lot in features now. You get like the Codex Vault system, where all your metadata that's recorded on your card is logged as well. That's what we used to do in the old days when we were doing film. So I would liaise with the continuity person, and I would be saying what lens we're using, what filters, what camera stock. That was our physical data. Now that metadata is recorded on the card as well, which is really important if you're going back and doing pickups, which is why your notebook is really, really good, because you may save the day. Believe it or not, you may save the day. It might be that, you were going for certain, the director of photography was going for a certain look in, say, location kitchen, and you put CTO on the windows to warm it up. You're saying, that's a warm environment. And you may have gone away and you go to another 2 or 3 locations, and then lo and behold, the editor says, do you know what we didn't get? We really need a close-up on that location. You all turn back up, and it is not uncommon for the director of photography to say to his first AC, hey, do you remember what we did in here? And it might be you say, yeah, we had an ulcer on the back wall. We were using HMIs there, but we CTO'd them, and you were going for a warm look. And it's all about backup. It's about, that's what I see from a camera assistant as well, is backup. I'm not, and there are DOPs that are quite precious about sharing information. I certainly trained with a lot of those people, and it's not my remit. I obviously am head of training and development here, and I'm only too happy to share what small amount of knowledge I have, because you guys are the next, you're going to be doing the next what I've been doing. I'm on the downward slope, and although I'm not, so just be careful. So I'm more than happy to share that information. And so I rely heavily on my assistants, and it's a relationship where once they're trusted, I'll be saying, just keep an eye on the monitor, especially if I'm doing handheld, and I light and operate. I like to know why I'm lighting a specific scene, and I know that might sound obvious, but I'm thinking about where the actor's going to move, and where I'm going to move if it's a handheld shot, and it becomes a dance, and that is really you really hone that skill when you do magic. So I've kind of gone through I do all the Derren Brown, a lot of the Derren Brown specials, and I've been working with Derren since the Trick or Treat series many moons ago, and I'm lucky enough to have done the 2 big Netflix specials. So with that, when I'm lighting and working, I'm expecting my camera assistants to keep an eye on me. If I get a lighting shot, for whatever reason, to come and say to me, you might have clipped something, or it's just about building those relationships, as I was saying. And when you start, it's really important that you understand that that is how this whole industry works, because it not only works on your knowledge base and your skill set, but it's about how you get on with people. And you can't please all of the people all of the time. I certainly work with 3 or 4 directors, and that's kind of it now, because they do enough series to keep me going as a DP, but also give me time to work with the guys and girls here. And that's really important when I took this position 5 years ago, because John Brennan, who's the CEO, and I had been friends for 14, 15 years. I was gifted Procam from a hotel room in Tokyo doing some commercials. And I was going to go on to my first magic show. And so that became a strong relationship with John, because I rely heavily on the equipment that I'm using, obviously. And because I'm not a features DOP, I'm mainly television. I really want to get involved with what kit I'm using. And it's changed now. We've gone back to before this kind of revolution of 4K UHD. We were more, I guess, geared towards what camera we were using. You know, were you going to use a Red? Were you going to use an Alexa? And now, through a whole kind of series of changes, most of us are really interested in the glass that's going at the front of the lens now. And that's where you also need to be observing what lenses are being used and why, and what configuration within the camera. So, you know, now, which wasn't in my day, because I would be, as an assistant, writing down what film stock we would be using, whether we'd be using an 85 filter, and I be using a tape measure all the time. Now you are going to be more involved with the setup of the camera. You know, what are the settings that are going on the camera? Are you shooting just HD? Are you shooting 2K? Are you shooting true 4K or UHD? What log are you going to put on the camera, and why? You know, I would also say, as you sort of start to move in, is to download Davinci. It's free. Loads of you are going to know about it, I'm sure. But, you know, sometimes I'll drag just a clip into Davinci and just have a look if I just want to do a quick grade. Also, you want to be kind of reading up about LUTs, lookup tables, because they're going to be really important as well. Some directors, some DPs will have a custom LUT that they want to load into the camera. And then there's loads of weird things. Like on the F55, you can have high, low key, which shows you what's in the blacks and whether you've blown out the whites, because you are probably going to be just sending a LUT to the director's monitor. If you're doing a commercial, you're going to have probably 4 or 5 monitors, because you've got loads of clients about and they want to be involved in everything. And that's a different discipline as well. If you go, say, from drama, where you're just going to have maybe the exec, the producers, the director, the DOP looking at a big monitor. There'll be small monitors for makeup, maybe special effects and stuff like that. When you go onto commercials, the world and his wife want to see what's going on. And you know, commercials are a really strange beast. There's a lot of sitting around sometimes. Same with features. I mean, that's why I kind of like doing magic, because it was really, really quick and there was always something to do. So, you know, as you go through assisting, it might be that you find the area you want to move into. Certainly at Procam, we've had people that have been production runners that have worked with our camera assistants from Procam and Procam's kit. And they've asked to join Procam. So they've kind of done that cross-pollination. Don't be afraid of that either. You know, it might be that halfway through you go, camera assistant isn't for me, but you want to stay in the industry. And you do, it's really easy early on to move across. So don't beat yourself up about stuff. My daughter's kind of going through this at the moment. She wants to go into the industry. She's not too sure. She's been a runner at a post-production house. Just throw yourself in. When you are assisting, when and where you can, just get on the camera and just have a look at what the DP is doing. Have a look at the settings, have a look at the lenses. We are there's been a real resurgence of vintage lenses.
Do you mind if I just quickly jump in with a question? Just when you were talking about sort of looking up, reading up on LUTs and sort of lenses and that and various things, she asked, are there any books, learning courses or free opportunities that you'd consider really useful for those who are actually trying to, who are interested in becoming a camera trainee, but don't necessarily have the contacts or the finances to sort of trial out actually sort of getting a hands on the camera? Is there anything, anywhere that you would recommend sort of learning and sort of, researching about those sort of things?
That's a really difficult one, because I obviously, we see a lot of people come through Procam starting as drivers. And that's the most obvious route that I see is starting with a kit hire company. And the great thing about that is there's contacts there straight away. As a driver, that you're not going to be driving forever. That's the first thing I say to people when they come here.
Is that usually a first step if you sort of get into?
Yeah, there's lots of people have different routes in. I think the way of the whole family thing, even though people go to me, yeah, but you started with your dad. I did and I didn't. Yeah, I had the first taste, but then I went away and I was probably the oldest runner in Soho for 2 years. There were people there who were 18 and 19, and I'd done my degree and I'd done a diploma, and then I'd worked in a newspaper, and I was kind of 24 years old. So I was quite mature. Saying that, we've had people start at Procam who are trained lawyers, and they've just got fed up with it, and it's something they've always wanted to do. So I think, and it's not supposed to say I'm naive or blasé, many people find their own ways in, whether you go and just say you turn up at a production company and you become a runner, a post-production, because that's how I went to Complete Video, which also had a company called The Edit Works, and I was the runner there, just doing teas and coffees for the edit suites and looking after the library. But I noticed that they had a cameraman that worked there, name was Barry Noakes, and he was the kind of in-house cameraman for the Edit Works. But the big show was the detectives, and I then badgered Barry, can I come out? So I used to go out on Saturdays and Sundays, so I do my Monday to Friday, and then when he had shoots on Saturday and Sunday, I'd help him, and then I got trusted, and then I could go in the camera room and I would put the camera together, and I'd disassemble it and assemble it and do all those bits and bobs. And that was noted. Even though you think you're under the radar, you're not. And that's what I'm saying. When you're at the camera, don't think you're invisible. You're not. Everybody sees what's going on. And that is your time to shine, really. So to get back to that original, I don't know of any. There are courses out there. Yes, there are. And I'm involved in some of them. But like the National Youth Film Academy, you pay a fee, and it's like a set ready course. So you 20 people come together. Some people are going to be on the crew, some people are going to be the actors, because that's how it kind of runs. And then they make a film, and then that film's watched, and people from the industry come there. So there's loads of different ways you can do it, either through post-production, making teas and coffees, that kind of runner, or you go to a kit hire house, or you go to a production company and become a runner. That's how loads of people start. And sure, they may move up in production, but as I've said before, we've had loads of people that have started there. They've met Procam people, they've become friends because they're doing like a 4 or 5 week shoot. I mean, it happens a lot on things like Made in Chelsea, and The Island, stuff like that. And that's when your personality takes over, your willingness, your commitment to doing what you're doing, and just being, I love this saying, just being a good egg.
Another quick question from Ash just now. He's just said, I'm coming from video and broadcast, looking for opportunities in film and TV. How relevant is this work to people looking for crew, or are they more interested in specific drama credits in short films, TV pilots, etc.?
Really, I don't think so much. If you're going to start lower down, I mean, sometimes you've got to take a step back to take a step forward, and that's not supposed to sound crap either, but I understand what you're saying, because years ago there used to be this whole thing about, oh, you're a videographer, you know, and that was the whole battle between, can we make video look like film? No, you can't. One's one medium and the other is a different one. And so don't be afraid to go in and say you've done this. You know, you've got to throw yourself forward lots of times, and it may be that you're going to get rejections. You get it all the way through. You know, even as a DP, I know, because of my years in the industry, that they're friends of mine who are going up for the same job. And we all, you know, some of us will do the whole secret squirrel thing. Some of us will go, oh, you know, I'm going up for such and such. And that's just the way it is. It might be that 2 or 3 camera operators have worked with the same director, and that director's going to pick one of you. But he might, or she might, pick you for a different reason, that, you know, you've done loads of nature stuff, or whatever that shoot involves. You know, you're going to have to get a bit of a thick skin as well, because sometimes you do brilliant jobs and people say thanks very much, and you say, oh, you know, I hope I'm invited back, and you do the whole telephone number thing, and you might not hear from them again. But it might be that first AC or that operator, he or she's first AC, or whoever you are replacing, their partner, or they are having a baby, you know, and they want to go back to that person because they've got a relationship. Likewise, and it has happened to me, that I couldn't do a shoot. Someone that was slightly junior to me ended up having a great relationship with that director, and they went on and worked with them all the time. It is what it is, you know, and that's why when you are coming up, you make as many contacts as possible. Try not to stick to one DOP or one first AC if you're starting off at that lower level. You know, you've got to broaden your horizons, and that's the same with people as is with kit. You know, especially if you go to a kit hire house, you know, somewhere like Procam, the guys and girls here, they get thrown in, you know, they get all the latest kit, all the latest cameras, and they get their hands dirty all the time. Sometimes as drivers, they get to go out on shoots because an American crew's come over and they're driving for them, and they become a spare pair of hands on set. You take your chances, and you will get chances, and, you know, like all of us, you will fluff some chances, and that's life, really.
If for like runners who are looking to get into camera assisting, what do you advise then? Sort of getting in contact with sort of kit hire companies like Procam or Shift4 or other, you know, I guess if you're a production runner working within a company or an office runner, I guess you sort of need to talk to the right people, or is it Facebook groups? What would you say as sort of tips?
Certainly the guys and girls here, they some of them will say, hey, I'm going to do a short film this weekend, and they'll put it out on the chat rooms here, and people will dive in, especially the younger people that are in as drivers, because they're like super keen, and it's also a good way of them making friendships here, and that's the same anywhere really. Especially, don't be afraid, and if you can, just get on short films and stuff like that, because you don't know who's going to be on that short or low budget film. It may be that it's a director and a DOP that are, you know, quite well established, and that is your time, your 3 days knocking around London doing night shoots for you to shine. So if you go the kit hire route, you're in probably for a number of years, but those years are a progression. So you start as a driver, then you become check-in here, then you move over to camera corner where you're helping disassemble cameras, check cameras in, then you're going to go back out and go to check out, which is we see as a kind of more important role because you're checking the kit out for shoots. You're going to meet cameramen coming in, you're going to meet production. So there's never one sure route. It depends on what you want. I'd certainly always throw your hat in the ring. You know, Mandy's really good for seeing what's going on there. And I honestly, I've done those and they are really hard. You know, you finish your job on a Friday, whatever you're doing, and then your Saturday and Sunday is gone, and then you're back on your Monday. But that's it. That is the name of the game. You know, when I did Zombie Apocalypse, I think we did 17 days straight through, and it was in Scotland, and it was hard weather, and it was like, you know, it's 12, 13 hours a day for everybody. But when you're a head of department, the DOP, the director, your day doesn't end there. The same as kind of the camera assistants doesn't end there, because when you finished, you know, it's amazing on a shoot like that when you've got like, I think we had something like 12 main cameras. You know, you go in the camera room and you see them all lined up, and someone has got to go through all those cameras. You know, they might need cleaning, it might have been raining out, it might have been snowing, and you've got to methodically go through those. And it's that point when you dig deep as a team, when everybody kind of comes together. And I had a lot of people that started very, very junior on that shoot. And because we were just throwing cameras all over the place, because the shoot had never been done, it was a zombie game show. It evolved really as the shoot went on. I was putting assistants on cameras, and they weren't locked off. Some of them are cable wide shots and that, but it was a big step up, and it was you know, they were proving that they could do that, and I was handing them responsibility. Sometimes it goes wrong, and you've got to say to people, you know, you need to come off of that. Don't let that affect you, because every time you're learning, you know, when you learn to ride a bike, you're going to fall off a couple of times, and it's really nerve-wracking when you take the stabilizers off. And likewise, when the girls and guys go freelance here, a lot of them will come up to me and say, do you think I'm ready to go freelance? I'm never going to go yes or no. I'm going to give them advice. I'm going to say, do you think you're ready? There's lots of ways to skin a cat. That's one of my nan's sayings. And likewise for getting in the industry, you know, it can be that you're going to do loads of stuff for free. It can be that you're going to be a driver. It might be that you're on a short film and you meet someone. It might be that you go and do a college course, and then stuff happens from there. I can't really comment on that. I can only comment on the way that I got through it and got to where I am. But it is a lot of hard work, and it's, you know, I went through quite a few relationships as well, because you know, you never know where you're going to be. It might be that, you know, the last big Dynamo series, we ended up going back to India 3 times. One was for the recce's, and that was like 12, 13 days of recce's. Then we went back and did 26 days, and then we went back and did pickups. So, you know, be prepared.
What should a camera assistant have on them in a shoot?
Okay, so, right, this is number 1. This is your multi-tool, and everybody wants a Leatherman. When you're starting off, don't worry about that. If you lose that, it's like 100 quid, 60 quid for a cheap one. And they do get lost, and they do get pinched. Buy like a 2 socket sets, Imperial metric, cheap little screwdriver set, Phillips and flathead is really, really good. And then you got like weird things like this, okay? Bits of rubber. Now, these are brilliant, okay? Because at some point you're going to end up in a nice country house, and it might be it's a really small crew, and those save really expensive floors. Always have a bit of sash with you. These are really, really good if you're doing stuff in hotel rooms or with practical lights. These are little 300 watt dimmers, brilliant for taking the intensity of lights down. Because I'm old, I've got a back brace. This is really, really good. This is the grip I worked with. Stuart Godfrey told me to have one of these, and it's a really just a tiny spirit level. And these are great if you're doing, literally you're putting the camera on the ground really quickly. The operators don't, you can just like go, oh, I've got this. I can check whether your horizon's straight. So bits like that. And I could go through the whole of my bag and it'll be different from another assistant's bag. But basically, it's just a really basic toolkit. Once the weather changes, I always chuck in a couple of really cheap ponchos and they're kind of disposable ones. Also, bin liners are really essential, especially if you're out in a field and it's your really expensive run bag or you've got cameras. You can just tape a bin bag to the bottom of your working bag. You can have a cheap ground sheet in there. You can have small offcuts of gels. You could go, once you get meeting people, especially on the lighting side, there's a thing called a swatch, a lighting swatch, which is all the gels, which is really good as well, because you can read and understand what CTO, CTB does, what ND does, what's 0.6, 0.9. Be a sponge. That's why that notebook is really important. And obviously I'm follically challenged. I have suntan lotion in there. If you're going abroad, insect repellent, a spare pair of socks and pants. I got ill in Mexico and they saved the day. You kind of tailor, if you're working on set all the time, then it might be that you make actors marks, which are T-pieces, which is a lot of the guys and girls here will use just that car rubber, which we also use to cover cables, but they'll cut these and they'll stick them together in making a T, and then they'll use different color tapes for different actors. Another quick tip, if you're on a drama, cut out the actors' names from the call sheet, their actual character name and their names, and stick it somewhere on the camera, usually the matte box. That helps the first AC and the operator, especially if there's a new actor on set and they don't know their names. You've been like so on the ball that you've done that already. And it's loads of things like that that get you brownie points. You know, even having like the poncho, you know, if it rains, if it's a downpour, you can chuck it over. I was in Bolivia doing a documentary and we went through those like you wouldn't believe it, because the festival we were at, everybody liked to throw their alcoholic drinks at the camera because you do become a target, which they find hilarious. So your run bag will evolve with you and it will evolve on obviously your earnings as well. Like I said about the Leatherman or the Gerber or the multi-tool, whatever you want to call it, don't buy one of those straight away. And people do give them to you as gifts. You know, your parents, once you're getting that first big job, which is cool. And if you do, go and get your telephone number engraved on it and your name. It's really cheap and it's a good thing. So yeah. Camera tapes, have a number of camera tapes, even double-sided tape is really, really good, and some Velcro, because you never know what you're going to stick up, where you want to stick stuff up, really. And the thing that everybody forgets is a clapperboard. So have a cheap wooden clapperboard, because it might be on a big unit, and you give it to another runner because they're going to mark the second or third camera, and have your main clapperboard, which make sure that the one you get, you can shine a torch behind it as well. A tape measure. You know, when on film, as a focus puller, because we didn't say first ACs, we said focus puller. And I certainly loved it when I moved from being a camera loader to focus puller. I found loading really stressful. And basically the DIT, when you do DIT, that is the equivalent kind of as a loader. So as I was saying before, backing your material up, if you exposed film, that was it. You had a reshoot. So, and that's when you do go up through the ranks, everybody appreciates that. You know, you're doing what we've done before.
Wow, I mean, that's like a Mary Poppins bag. I don't know how you get it all in there. Didn't know what was going to come out next.
This bag is not really assistant's bag anymore. It's my kind of get out of jail bag with my safety nets in it. A lot of the guys and girls here now don't have a bag. They'll get a pelly case and they're like, because someone's done it and they've been on set and they've seen this method of working, that then becomes their method of working. So they're junior to the first AC, they see the first AC turns up with this nice pillowcase, kind of cross-pollination of working with different people. You pick up different traits, some good, some bad. Same with lighting. You know, because I'd only been with trained with 2 DPs, I learned their way of lighting. And it did cost me quite a big job actually, because I didn't listen to what the executive producer wanted. I thought, right, this is it. This is how I'm going to light. Be open. Even once you've climbed up those positions, still listen to what people have got to say. Respect that, because you will learn things.
Michelle is saying she's interested in getting into a script supervisor role one day, and have read that it's often considered part of the camera department. Would a camera assistant be a good route into this role, to your knowledge, or do you think that's something different?
Okay, here's one. I'm not 100%, because nothing is 100% how you get into departments. I would say find a production company, and you might have to start as a runner there, but find a company that does drama, and ally yourself to them, make yourself known, take a CV in. I always think, it might be that you don't get past the front desk, but you've just got to take your chances, and some of those times you make those chances. I was lucky enough to light Bryan Cranston for a chat he was giving. The hilarity is he didn't even know he'd been lit, but there you go. But he actually did my ethos and said that to get ahead in this game, it is really 90% sheer hard work and 10% luck. Within that hard work, you can make your own luck as well. And that is in people see you working hard and they go, look, that person's smashing it out. And we say it here, some guys and girls come through here and they absolutely smash it out. And it's not 4 years for them here, it's 2.5 or 3. But not saying that the person that takes 5 years doesn't get there. We all get there at different points. Don't get het up on it. I say this to my daughter. Don't be put off. If you really want to do it, you will do it. The only person that's not going to make it happen is you. And I really don't want that to sound crap. That's the truth. I was told that I couldn't write at school. I didn't learn to read or write properly till I was 13, 14. And then I was told I couldn't do my English O-levels. And I ended up writing scripts and getting a really good agent. So it's up to you.
What about film school? Do you think that's any use for those aspiring to do cinematography? Is it worth getting a bachelor's degree or shorter? Is there a shorter, more specific course better?
That's such a fair question. And I am not going to say yes or no. Okay. You've got to decide what you want. Okay. Do you want to take those 3 years out? It's a different route. Okay. You might learn the nuances of lighting at a university, doing a BA degree, but you might also learn that and you will learn that in somewhere like Procam or another hire house, because you'll be going on set with those people. It's a difficult one. I'm an advocate of hands-on on the set. You learn set etiquette, you meet people. Yes, it's bloody hard work, and at times you're thinking they're taking the mick out of me. You know what? I've done it. I do get it. I've been in a field at 2 o'clock in the morning with not a totally waterproof coat, thinking, what am I doing here? Because that's human nature. But I'm also there when I'm sitting there looking at a monitor, looking at actors hitting their mark, and we're playing it back and it looks great, and that's the buzz. I've been nominated now quite a few times for BAFTAs, and every time it's Ant and Dec, and I've worked with them as well. But it's the whole thing. It's the whole package. I'm not going to say yes or no. You've got to look to yourself and think, do I want to take 3 years out? Do I want to do this? It might be that you want the student life. It depends how old you are, whether you've got commitments, whether you want to wage. diddly diddly do. You know, write the good points, write the bad points. But at the end of the day, you will know. It's just sometimes it's difficult to look to yourself and go, you know what, this is going to be the hard route, but I'm going to do this hard route.
Now, Erica has asked, to those interested in self-shooting using a DSLR, how would you recommend improving one's skills? And what's your opinion on the rise of smartphone film and TV filming?
I hate small cameras. Only because I am a different generation from you people, in that you are more immersed in that. My daughter used my A7 to do her end of year project, and it took her quite a while to get used to it because she was used to filming everything on her phone. Okay, so that's a discipline thing as well. With small cameras, if you're doing handheld, you're going to get a lot of shake. But saying that, it's the same disciplines, okay? Gracie was saying to me, oh, I don't like this camera, I want to get a better camera. It's not about the better camera, because people were doing fantastic shots years ago on plate cameras, okay? It's about you utilising your eye. I will say, which I say to everybody here, go to galleries, okay? Go to the photographic gallery, the National Portrait Gallery, Tate, not even Tate Modern, I don't care. Go and look at framing, go and look at composition, go and look at colour palettes, go and look at tonality, okay? Because painters are the forerunners from what you're doing, okay? Years ago, someone picked a twig out of a fire and did a bloody bear jumping over a mountain. And then it's a progression through there. So I just don't use them. I've obviously done stuff with my A7, and years ago, Derren gravitated for a time towards 5Ds when they first came out, because it was going to be that way of like doing stuff quickly. It doesn't work like that. When you get a small camera, which we have here, you know, obviously we've got everything from Panasonics, or GH5s, A7Ss, 5Ds, all that stuff, all the way up. And usually what happens is you then bolt stuff on and you get this ungainly rig. But just shoot stuff. Just go and shoot stuff. And think about composition. And, you know, it's about a smooth pan, a smooth tilt, holding a shot. All those disciplines still count.
Yeah.
Whether it's a small camera or a big camera.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think this might have to be one of the last questions, but really quickly from Jonas, that's sort of similar to what you were just saying. How important is it to learn still photography if you want to be a cinematographer?
Go and buy a 35mm camera. They're cheap as chips on eBay. I know, because I'm just buying my daughter one. It's so great because you've only got either 24 or 36 goes at getting a shot, right? The bad discipline is on your iPhone going, right, and you're never going to look at those. You'll go out, you'll go on holiday, you'll take loads and loads of shots. Once you are being pushed into, you've only got 24 exposures, that really counts, especially when you get your first shots developed. There is nothing more, in my opinion, enjoyable than looking at a really well-framed, well-exposed shot. It's a great discipline, honestly. If I could, that would be my mantra for becoming a good cinematographer.
So Vanessa said, as a student of Masters in Cinematography, upon graduation, what job should I be looking for? First AC or second AC? And how can I strike a balance between having a lack of experience in the industry but a good education? Or is it sort of everyone sort of comes in and has to...
It depends what the shoot is. It depends on the crew that's there. Are they going to support you? I would be very nervous personally to go straight in as a first AC if I hadn't got much set experience. Set experience is brilliant. Even from the point of where someone says, can you pass me a 246? Okay, truthfully, who knows what a 246 is? Some of you might, all of you might, I don't know, but I certainly, when I start, I didn't know what a 246 is. A 246 is a little 3 blocks of wood stuck together, and you usually have 3 of them, and it's great, and you put them to lift up tables so that you might not be able to change where the camera is, but you can lift something into shot. It's all those little things, like when you've got a flare in a picture frame. Okay, I didn't know someone saying there's a flare on that when I was very, very junior. And that's why I've got little finger wedges, because you can put a little finger wedge under a painting or under a mirror and you lose that glare. It's all those little tricks of the trade. If it's a long focus pull, you know, how do you mark your lens out? The first long focus pull I did, the grip walked parallel to the actor and we'd laid out the marks, and he had a walkie-talkie and I had a walkie-talkie, and he was going at Mark 1, at Mark 2. So there I was on the lens, because it was an 800mm lens. It was a 400mm lens with a doubler, okay? And we didn't have, the video assist was a split off the film camera, and you got 40% of it went to the monitor and 60% went to the operator. So it wasn't a brilliant picture. So it's about learning all those little tricks. They're the great things that build your armory when you go on set and you make it smooth for everyone.
What would be, as a sort of final tip, what would be your kind of main top tip for camera assistants?
Smile, say good morning, say goodbye. That's it. And learn. Just try, and without being naive, try and look at, when you're with a new DP or a new operator, try and look at what they're doing and just get a tip, and keep that notebook in your pocket with a pen.
Thank you so much for giving up your time to share your experience and advice, Saul. It's been really, really helpful. But yes, thank you. Any final comments?
I look forward to seeing your names on credits, and just go and shoot stuff. Honestly, even when you're not doing stuff, I still do it. I've got back into photography during lockdown.
Well, thank you again. Bye.